Hi everybody, welcome back to another academic video. This one is all about teaching postgraduate students. If you're new to the channel, my name is Caroline. I'm a UK-based university physics lecturer, and as part of my job I look after and I teach undergraduate students and postgraduate students. And typically then when I teach postgraduate students, I might be teaching them taught material in a classroom, I could be supervising an individual project or looking after a group project. And there's definitely things I think I do differently between postgraduate and undergraduate level students. So just to bound the video a little bit today, I'm going to talk about postgraduate students who aren't doing a PhD but are doing rather some kind of taught course within a university. So typically these are students who've done an undergraduate degree already, usually that's a bachelor's level, and they've come back to the university to do a master's postgraduate course. And at my university in the physics department, our postgraduate courses for our master's students, they comprise a taught element where the students are going to lectures and having kind of learned taught material, and also project elements. And one of those projects is a group work project, and one of those is an individual dissertation project that happens across the summer. First up then, postgraduate students have already been through a degree process. They've already been through their undergraduate degree. So usually when these students come back into the university system, they already know how they work best, how they study best, how they organise their time. They've already had deadlines, deliverables, written essays, done coursework. They've been through that university experience once before. And so usually that means these students are now better equipped to kind of hit the ground running a little bit and to get going with their master's programme. Sometimes these students, of course, will have relocated to a different university and sometimes to a different country. And I think then when you're a postgraduate tutor, so like when I'm teaching my postgraduate classes, at least for those first few weeks of lessons, you do need some kind of awareness that some people in the room, this might not be their home country, they might have travelled recently away from friends and family to undertake the module in the course. English might not be their first language in my case, obviously I teach in English, and so it's just being aware that although they would have experienced an undergraduate degree before and the academic kind of rigorous process, the actual environment might be quite different and quite new and unfamiliar. And so that can take a bit of time for the postgraduate students to kind of settle in and to find their feet at the university. However, as postgraduate students, of course, I do have an expectation that they're going to be able to manage their time a little bit more than, say, maybe somebody who's joining us for the first year of their bachelor's programme. And so, as postgraduate students, you would hope that they are quite organised in getting ready for their essays, their deadlines, and their course outputs and deliverables. That's not to say, though, that they also aren't going to be impacted by events outside of the university or in their personal life. These impact postgraduate students just as much as undergraduate students, and so it is important that postgraduate students are made aware of university policies, extenuating circumstances, and the framework at the university that is there to support them as they're going through their academic journey. Particularly as well, if they've moved country, it can be quite difficult, I imagine, when you're going through a new country set of forms and processes and visas to learn what you need to do. Now, when it comes to teaching postgraduate students in taught classrooms, I think they can be more resilient at finding out information for themselves sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And so, I will definitely try, as well as I'm giving the taught content and answering questions, if there are questions that they can also answer from independent study and from textbooks and web resources and papers, I'll also point them in those directions so they can build their own kind of learning portfolio. I mean, we do this at the undergraduate level, and therefore at the postgraduate level, you really do want to help establish people to become independent learners alongside that taught delivered content that they're getting in lecture theatres and classrooms. And I will interact with my students at the postgraduate level, primarily through email and them coming to visit me in my office and knocking on the door for a quick chat. but more and more these days as well through virtual platforms. So this is particularly something that I've noticed in group work, project working. We use these virtual tools to enable us to communicate as a group quickly and easily. And again, that's just a nice interface for somebody to be able to ask you a quick question during the week without having to arrange any big kind of meeting or kind of fanfare to get to see their tutor. One of the biggest aspects though of the postgraduate teaching that I do is of MSc project supervision. So this is where the postgraduate student picks a project and they work on it for a period of 12 weeks across the summer. So from typically, I think it's end of May, June time through to the end of the summer period. And that project is the opportunity to work on something as if you are a researcher within a research group. Now, obviously, these projects are quite short. They're only going to be 12 weeks. To the postgraduate student, that might feel quite a long time. To an academic member of staff, that feels very short. Most of our projects will be going for years. My PhD students will be going for 3 or 4 years. So, a 12-week project is very quick. So, although it's at a postgraduate level and therefore can be more advanced and more detailed, I still, as the tutor, need to make sure that I'm setting a postgraduate student up with a project that's got deliverables and outputs that's going to lead towards a dissertation. And I think it's really important that, although in my case these projects are very short, that the postgraduate researcher gets the opportunity to at least pursue or explore a line of inquiry that they have ownership of. And by that, I mean I'll design a project and I'll say, okay, the first output is we're going to define some computational code that is going to do X. But then I'll try to leave there to be a few options so the student can then take the project in a direction that interests them. Now, as the tutor, obviously you've got to be quite careful here. You've got to make sure that it is going to lead to research outputs that are aligned to the expectations of that module. And in my case, the module's leading to a dissertation. So I do need to make sure there's going to be tangible work that will get the student to that point. But at the same time, I want the postgraduate student to have the chance to explore, create, identify and form their own scientific lines of inquiry to go into that project. So it's a bit of a balancing act. I also have MPhys, so I've got master's students doing year-long projects. There's a little bit more time there to help kind of make that framework where they have a bit of flexibility to follow their own project ideas. But I always try to get that balance between setting a project that's going to be achievable and good, and also creating space for the postgraduate researcher to come up with their own free thought. But yeah, let me know, do you teach postgraduate students? Does your university have taught kind of courses, or are your postgraduate courses more research based? Do you have project work that you supervise, or is it all mainly kind of lectures and content in the classroom? And how do you find it best to communicate and to engage with your postgraduate students? Let me know in the comments. And of course, in the meantime, I hope you have a really good week. We're coming up here in the UK to a spring period of vacation, which I'm really looking forward to, although I'll be working through some of it, which I can fill you in on in another video. But in the meantime, I hope you have a really lovely week, and I'll see you next Monday for another academic video. Bye.